Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, you're welcome. In today's video, I'll be showing you how to draft this pattern of this dress. It's a sleeveless bustier dress with a curvy, waistline. It's a bit tricky. Please just watch how I draft the pattern. If you want to make this outfit, I will advise you draft the pattern first before you draft on fabric. So right now, we'll proceed to drafting the pattern. I'll be extending my tape measure by 7 inches, and that will be my starting line. 7 inches will be my starting line. I'll mark 7 inches as my starting line, 9 inches my bust line, 10.5 my bust point, 16 inches for my waistline, and 24 inches for my hip. And I'll be marking 26 inches for my total length. Looking at the thumbnail and the picture of this dress, it came with 2 straps. So when you're done drafting your pattern, when you're making the dress, I'll suggest that you pad your bustier. Either you pad with bra cups or you pad with wadding. So right now, I just marked my bust point and I'll be extending the lines. After extending the lines, I will impute my measurements. I'm just labeling it starting line, bust point, waistline, hip, and length. So right now, I'm marking my bust round measurements on my starting line. My bust round is 42 divided by 4, that will give me 10.5. I'll mark that measurement all the way to my bust point. So I'll come to my waist. My waist is 38 divided by 4, that will give me 9.5. I'll mark that measurement, and my hips is 44 divided by 4, that will give me 11 inches. I'll mark that measurement and I'll connect with a straight line. Please, you want to ensure that you connect with a straight line just like I'm doing. If you want to get the pattern right, please connect with a straight line just like I'm doing. Later on, we'll add other, measurements as we go on in the tutorial. So the next thing to do after that is to get your bust nipple to nipple. That's 8 inches divided by 2. That will give me 4 inches plus 0.5 inches of sewing allowance. That will give me 4.5. I'll mark that measurement and I'll connect with a straight line up to the starting line. Please, if you don't understand what I'm doing, please just watch the video. You have any questions, leave it in the comment section. I'll be sure to reply. So after drafting this, the next thing I should take our dart. I'll be taking in 1 inch on both sides for my dart, that making 2 inches of dart taking. I'll be taking that dart, and after taking the dart, I'll just be marking that measurement and mark the measurement upwards to my waistline, and I'll curve it upwards to meet the bust point. Please just watch how I draft my dart intake. If you have watched my video to this point, please give this video a like so that YouTube can push up my content and other people can be able to learn from me. Thank you for liking, thank you for subscribing, and thank you for sharing the video. Right now, I'm just covering my dart just as shown. So I'll go to the starting line now, and I'll take that 2 inches as well on the starting line. So I came up by 2 inches, and I'll proceed to curve my dart just as shown. I'll curve my dart just as you see me do. After covering my dart, ensure that you want to replace that dart at the starting line. So the next step now is for me to go upwards by 1 inch. You can do 0.5. I just want to mark that neckline or the shape of the bustier. So you can do any shape of your choice. You can do sweetheart neckline, whichever one you want, but for me, I'll be going upwards and be covering the neckline just as shown. If you want, you can do this style of neckline, it's okay as well. So after covering that, I'll add my dart intake and 2 inches of sewing allowance to my starting line. I'll be marking also 2 inches of sewing allowance and 2 inches of that taking on my waistline, and I'll come to my hip and I'll be marking just 2 inches of that taking. That's because we don't need the hip measurement at all, so I'm just adding the dart intake for that part of the pattern. I don't know if you understand what I'm doing. Please just watch the video. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section. I didn't add sewing allowance to the hip area. There's a reason for that. Our pattern will not get to the hip line. It will only be a curve. So I've gone down by 1 inch from my waistline, and I'll be curving it just as shown. Please watch how I curve out my pattern. I'll be curving it just as shown in order to form that curve you see on the thumbnail. Now that we are done drafting the front pattern, the next step is for us to cut out our pattern. And after cutting out this pattern, I'll pin up my pattern just to show you how the pattern will come out looking like. If you're a beginner, you can do this step, but if you're a professional, you can skip this step if you want. But for me, I'll pin up the pattern because I have beginners watching my channel, so I'll be showing you how it ends up looking like. If you don't have pins, you can join it using your sewing machine just to see how it will turn out. But after pinning or joining, you want to ensure that you turn it inside out, like you turn the paper carefully so that it doesn't rip. So right now, I'll just show you how I'm going to be pinning. I'm going to be pinning all the way upwards. Here is me done pinning, and this is how the pattern turned out. This is how it turned out, and this is how your pattern should look like. This is how your pattern should come out looking like, because after you are done, you want to ensure that your your outfit turns out exactly how you envision it. So we are done with the front pattern now. The next step is to draft the back pattern. I've gone ahead to repeat my measurement for the back pattern, but I added my zipper allowance of 1 inch. You can do 1.5 if that's what works for you. I'll do 1 inch for my zipper allowance. So I've gone ahead to label a starting line, bust point, waistline, hip line, and my length. So right now, repeating my measurement of my bust round measurement, which is 10.5, my waist, which is 9.5, my hip 11 inches, and I'll be marking just the same measurements for the back as well. So after marking, I'll connect with a straight line, and we move to the next step of marking my bust point. Now, please pay attention to this back pattern. The back pattern is not the same as the front pattern. It's a bit tricky, but just watch how I draft my pattern. So right now, I'll go to my bust point, and I'll be marking my nipple to nipple measurement all the way to the down part. I'm marking for my starting line to meet my hem, or to meet my length. So right now, after marking it, I'll connect with a straight line, and I'll be using a basic dart for this back. I'll be using a basic dart for it. So after marking, I'll come down by 1 inch on my bust point. You want to ensure that on my bust line, I'll cut my bust line, mark 1 inch downwards, and I'll be taking 1 inch on both sides for my dart. If you're a smaller size person, you can do 0.5 inches. So I'll proceed now to marking and connecting my lines to show the simple dart. I'll be using a basic dart for the back pattern. It's always easier this way. So after marking the dart, the next step is for me to add my sewing allowance. Now I'll come down to my bust line. I'll be marking my sewing allowance on that line. I didn't mark my sewing allowance on my starting line. There's a reason for that. I'll be explaining later. So right now, I'll mark my 1 inch of that taken for the waistline and 2 inches of sewing allowance. I also added the allowance and that taken on my hem and on my length. So I'll proceed now to connecting the lines just as shown. After that, we'll come into the waistline, go inwards by 0.5 inches and come outwards by 0.5 inches. The reason why we're doing this is to remove zipper bulge and to make our back look snatched. By the time you draft your pattern like this, it will come out really looking nice, and you want to ensure that you slant your ruler just like I'm doing so that your back pattern will come out really looking good. So after that, the next step now is for me to blend the waistline to meet the bust line and also to meet the length. I don't know if you understand what I'm doing. Please just watch the video. If you have any questions, leave it in the comment section. I'll be sure to reply. So right now, after drafting that, I'll proceed now to cutting out my pattern. We are done with the back pattern. But before that, I'll be covering my back pattern just as shown. I came down by 1 inch just like the front pattern, and I'll be covering from that 1 inch to meet the length. Please watch how I cover out my pattern. You want to get this ruler to be able to cover out your pattern. After covering out your pattern, we are done with the back pattern. We'll proceed now to cutting out the pattern. By the time you are cutting out your pattern, I won't be cutting the starting line with it. There's a reason for that, because the back is always, longer than the front, so the back will be shorter than the front, and at the end of the patterns will align when you are sewing together. So right now, I'm just cutting out my pattern. You want to take your time in cutting out your pattern. If you're a beginner, please take your time in cutting out your pattern. Watch how I cut out my pattern so you don't make a mistake cutting out yours. And after cutting out, you want your pattern to end up looking like this. And I'm going to fold in the dart intake so that you see how it turns out. This is how you want your pattern to look like when you are done drafting. So with that, we are done with the tutorial. We've come to the end of the tutorial. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and leave a good comment. Until I come your way again, bye.